A Time to be Sensible by IIona Krueger of South Penrith, 2750. Narrated by Rowena Robinson. Why didn't I do it? Sensible was always my middle name. At age 9, it was my role to look after my younger siblings, having sole responsibility for them for 5 hours a day beyond school time. There was little time or opportunity for socializing or even getting into mischief. The mischief and risk-taking was quickly snapped up by my strong and sturdy brother, who could easily have won a fight against me. So I remained the studious, grounded, and reliable one. Never bored, I read, did jigsaws, and taught myself needlecrafts. And because I always shared a room with one or other of them, it was always up to me to satisfy my parents' standards of tidiness. Later, as a young mother, responsibilities continued and magnified. Parties and adventure were not part of my repertoire. My daredevil things were lugging groceries, sweeping carpets with a handbrush, and climbing up on chairs to install shelving or change a light bulb. At fun fairs, even in adulthood, I would savor gentle carousels. Twice I attempted a roller coaster ride, resulting in unashamed screams, although afterwards I felt somewhat ridiculous. Adrenaline rush is obviously not my thing. Instead, at Luna Park, I gravitated towards the shallow-drafted riverboats, safely tethered to pathways. I watched daredevil rides, observing the courage and fear of the upside-down ride participants. Swimming pools were preferable to ocean turbulence. It didn't help that I almost drowned after being viciously dumped by cross-current waves when I was barely a teen. 2 men had to drag me out. My parents never knew but wondered why I resorted to walking along the beach edge, squishing my toes in the sand, picking up shells, or marveling at rock pools. Now, I might sound like a terrified mouse, but it's not quite like that. Being a teacher of willful teenagers manifests a bravery of its own. Breaking up schoolyard fights is not for the faint-hearted. Teachers should be equipped with a suit of armor for protection when in amongst determined, angry school lads. And yes, I've been deliberately punched, accidentally hurt, and left reeling with apprehension on various occasions. I've had dreams where I free fall with indescribable exhilaration. Whooshing, floating, feeling the air rush past as I fall into eternity. No fear, no trepidation. I've conquered mountain tops, unfazed by precipices and ravines, or the frigid, breathless altitude, simply bewitched by the scenery. I've delivered myself into Neptune's watery domicile, frolicking with dolphins, gliding with rays, and greeting the seahorses. I've jumped fences to run away from tigers, and have sung and danced in front of massive audiences. No stage fright, no 2 left feet, but all in my dreams. So I ask again, why didn't I do it? I was given a gift voucher for an afternoon cruise on an old-fashioned tall ship on Sydney Harbour. The history of the restored 19th century bark was intriguing, but the magnificence of its tall mast with triple sails and imposing hull shape was impressive. We were all given plastic wristbands, some red, some blue. The red one? That's an optional mast climb. The crew member looked at me, half in congratulations and half in commiseration. At age 60 plus, I was obviously not a viable candidate. I watched as 3 lean under-30s climbed the mast seamlessly, onlookers agreeing that it was best left to the nimble-bodied. I ate some grapes and snacks and offered them generously to some of the co-passengers. In a playful mood, I laughed. If I were doing that climb, this would possibly be my last meal. "Why don't you do it?" someone near me said. I shrugged my shoulders matter-of-factly, pointing at my unsuitable slip-on shoes. The matter was settled. "What's your shoe size?" another 60-plus woman asked, handing me her own sturdy lace-ups. Like an obedient child, I accepted. Of course, Cinderella's slipper, promising the happily ever after of a handsome prince, would have been a much greater experience. I hoped to God these shoes wouldn't fit. But they did. "Now you have no excuse," the woman said logically, though unaware of the real fear conflicting me. My fate, however, was sealed. I was strapped into a harness for safety and set precariously over the edge of the ship. The ripping waves slapped me on the behind. After a well-meant but final-sounding bon voyage, I began to navigate the ropes, reaching for the summit. Ferries went by, each one suctioning the draft of the ship so that it rocked sideways, a seesaw on water. I imagined myself as the bob of a pendulum, except that I was at the top, the weight of me accentuating the amplitude, while a stiff breeze snapped at the sails. The sun was fading, and I basked in the golden hour of the day, my spirits rising well above any worries or concern. I could stay here forever. I was not afraid. I was at one with the birds, the clouds, the heavens. "Come down!" I became aware of a voice asking me to descend. It became a bit more insistent. "Come down now. It's getting too dark. Do you want me to fetch you?" Empowered by this unplanned-for experience, I rejected the offer of help. Although descending was more difficult than the upward climb, because the rungs were spaced far apart, I had to feel my way carefully. Below, people were guiding my steps, telling me to reach down just a bit farther. Unharmed, I arrived back on the deck amid the cheering of the others. The greatest cheerleader, however, was my own self. An oldie had done it, and done it well. So I ask again, why didn't I do it? Why didn't I say an emphatic no? Why didn't I opt for the comfort zone? I still don't really know, but what I do know is that the anticipation of what-ifs is what holds us back. There's a time to be sensible, and a time to grow old, disgracefully. The end.